Welcome to another episode of Building a Leadership Mindset podcast. I'm super excited for our guest today. This is brought to you by the Connected Leaders Academy as well as BALM Global. And I'm your host, Nikki C., all the way from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I have a good friend, Ryan Batchelor, actually joining us today. And we have the privilege of co-authoring together with Brian Brogan's new project, Voices of Leadership, which is volume 2. Super excited to be a part of this. Me and Ryan had a virtual coffee and we got to know each other. And just to let you know a little bit about Ryan, he's a captain. He was born in Mobile, Alabama, but spent all of his youthful years in Rogers, Arizona. Upon being awarded a Navy ROTC scholarship, he attended Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana. In December 1996, he graduated with a bachelor's in civic engineering and was commissioned to begin his aviation training. He was part of a couple deployments, some in Japan, as well as in Bahrain. Also did a service as well on the wake of September 11th terrorist attacks. He mentored shipping traffic in the Pacific Ocean. Just so many things. Definitely honored and to have had him service, be in the service for us. He did Air Force in Daytona, Ohio. So without further ado, we're going to get on here. Ryan Batchelor, how are you?
Good afternoon, Nikki. I'm doing great. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we connected on a mastermind call with Brian Brogan. And in that call, we were able to connect and meet. And, I told you I had a podcast and I would love for you to come on and kind of share your leadership with, here with me and our audience. So thank you so much for joining the BALM family and so happy to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm really honored to be a guest, and it's good to get to know you a little better and know that we'll be collaborating going forward in Voices for Leadership.
Yes, I'm super excited about this project as well. Just coming off of my first launch of my book, Building a Leadership Mindset, I was told by Jose Escobar about this amazing opportunity and just to stay on momentum and, join, him in this collaboration as well. So there's many wonderful leaders actually joining this mission, and I'm super excited for it. But tell us who Ryan is and, where do you come from and, what are your passions and your joys and what led you into the service?
Yes, ma'am. So I'll tell you that my life has been about the service because I graduated from high school, went immediately into college under a Navy ROTC scholarship. And then the day after I graduated from Purdue, I was commissioned in the Navy, and I'm still in the Navy at this time. So I do have to say, since I'm employed by the Department of Defense, that the views expressed today are my own and don't represent the Department of Defense. So just got to make that clear, since if you see me outside of the podcast, I'll be wearing a uniform. And so just want to make sure we keep everything separate as it should be. So I certainly enjoyed my youth in Rogers, Arkansas. It was a great place to grow up. I'm an outdoors person, and I'll talk about that a little bit when we get into what some of my passions are. But in the course of my service with the United States Navy, I've had a lot of opportunity that the Navy has given me to be in leadership roles. It started out when I was on deployment, and I was the patrol plane commander of our crew of 11 people. And so it started there with that small group, which, really became my best friends because we spent 6 months together every year. And we spent those 6 months very close quarters for that entire deployment period. And so that was really my first opportunity to get to lead. And after I moved a little bit away from the aviation side of things and into the acquisition world that the Department of Defense has, which is the arm of the Department of Defense that buys all the things that the military needs, I've had the opportunity to be in a number of leadership positions, culminating where I am now in St. Louis as the commander of a unit here of 250 civilians and 15 military, making sure that Boeing delivers well to the warfighters and all the products that they need. And so it's been a great journey so far, and I know that it's by no means over, and in some instances I think it's just beginning. So you might be able to actually hear one of the airplanes taking off behind me right now. So
I do. I hear it. That's so amazing. Actually, my aunt in Chicago, she lived by the airport, so we were able to hear, like when I would go over to visit, we were able to hear the airplanes go in and out, which I love the sound of it. If you put me on an airplane every week to another country, state, I'm on it. I absolutely love it. But thank you so much for sharing that and just giving us a little tidbit on, what you've been doing. And thank you again for your service. Absolutely appreciate that. I have a lot of military within my family, as well as those that, we are in community with, which is absolutely amazing. And let's go into just some of your passions. What are some things that other interests while you're in the Navy, because you're still not done, you have a couple more years left, and you're really gearing up to some great things, and we'll talk about that as well. But what are some other passions that kind of led you? Any certifications, any programs, any things you really are interested in?
Sure. So I've really got three passions in life, Nikki. The first is family. You didn't get to the end line of my biography that says I'm married to my wife and we have 9 kids. So I leave my job here at work, and then I go home to another full-time job because there's all sorts of kids running around and they're at all different phases of life. And so that's always an adventure to be had there. So we have 9 kids, 2 of which are adopted from the country of Haiti. And so that's a whole journey in itself that we could spend a completely separate podcast on. We won't go into that a lot today, but it's been a learning experience and a joy to be able to welcome people from a different culture into your family and do the best that you can with them and for them. So that's my first passion. My second one is leader development, and is really what I enjoy the most about the job I have right now is that I can invest in the people that are under my command, whether those be some of the civilians that work here or whether it's the military personnel. I have opportunities to build value into them every single day. And that's really led me down a couple paths. One is the Change Your World initiative through John Maxwell. He put out a book with Rob Hoskins just a couple years ago called Change Your World. And from that, they developed an entire 12-week curriculum that's really broken into 2 sections, each composed of 6 weeks. And the first 6 lessons are on values. And of course, you could probably make lessons on values and have 15, 20, 25 of them, but they chose 6. And those are hope, listening, valuing every person, integrity, forgiveness, and multiplication. And so you go through those, and there's action items each week associated with each of those that the team goes off and conducts for themselves. And then we come back and hold each other accountable to those each week. And then the second 6 lessons are really on change. And they're titled Lifestyle of Successful People. You can make your life a great story, putting your purpose into action, everyday essentials for living a life of significance, making a difference together, and creating a meaningful scorecard. And that's really about taking action and determining what you're going to do with that values-based leadership that you established in the first half, and going and changing your world, whatever that might be for you, in those second set of lessons. And so I've taken a number of groups through Change Your World, and more than happy to help you or any of your listeners take a group through Change Your World. It works best if you have a group of anywhere from 4 to 7 people, but we can make anything work. So don't hesitate to contact me about that.
I
In
love that.
addition, in addition, over the pandemic, Patrick Lencioni's group, the Table Group, came up with a model called the Working Genius, and I became a facilitator for them. And that's really about 20% personality assessment and 80% productivity tool. And it has 6 elements to it, which happens to spell the word widget, which they claim was just by happenstance, but I don't know. It works pretty well. So the elements of that are wonder, invention, discernment, galvanizing, enablement, and tenacity. And there's an assessment that goes along with that that will tell you that you have 2 of those that are your working genius, 2 that are your working competency, and 2 that are your working frustration. And so I've been able to take my own team through that, as well as a number of other teams, and people have found a lot of value in understanding themselves a little better and being able to apply that to work.
That is so awesome. I have like a bunch of questions in regards to that, and the benefits, and really actually we're definitely going to have to get on another call because I have plenty of groups, and as a coach I would love to not only take it for myself, because why not know why we do what we do, and what really drives us, and what really our person, because sometimes we don't, especially when we're in the starting phases. And then another thing you said that was brilliant was that once you get the answers, it's really putting those things into action and changing, because we all have the opportunity to change and shift, and we don't have to stay where we've been at for such a long time and be unhappy in that space, right? So I love what you have going on, and we're just going to take a few to hear from our sponsor, and then we'll be right back.
Excellent. Thanks.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Jose Escobar, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Connected Leaders Academy. We're a growing tribe, a community of entrepreneurs all over the world, globally, all across the country, high performers, titans of industry. If you're an entrepreneur and you're looking to grow personally and professionally, scale your influence, develop your skill sets, move the needle in your business, more clients, more money, more profit, the bottom line, and of course, grow your circle and your network like never before, this is where you want to be. Join the Connected Leaders Academy today. We are scaling massively. We want to welcome you in. Check me out on Instagram and on Facebook, the @ JAESCO25. We look forward to having you join us. Take care.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here with Ryan Batchelor, and he was talking about 2 great programs that, while he was in the Navy, and some advantages he took upon with Change Your World and Working Genius. And let's just talk first a little bit about Change Your World. When you heard that John Maxwell was having this event and this title, what was your first impression or expectation of what you were looking for going into this? I don't know, was it a seminar, a conference? What did that look like?
Yeah, well, the title of the book, which is what came out first, really caught my attention, because changing your world is something that I'm invested in, and that I want to be able to say that I've been able to do whenever my life here on Earth is finished. I want people to be able to say, yeah, he went out and he changed his world. And I'm involved with a couple of nonprofits, some of which originated in Haiti, which is the connection that I have to my adopted daughters, and others have originated within the United States here as I've gone throughout my life. And so just the concept of having a better construct to change your world really struck me. And so I picked up the book, and John Maxwell Company had a few webinars, just an hour long, with John and Rob kind of sharing their perspective. And at the end of one of those, they offered for you to become a facilitator. And so I took the facilitator training, and part of the requirement to be a facilitator is first to be a participant. So I went on to their dashboard and signed up to be a participant. And my facilitator was Djoulieka, who is one of the contributing authors for Voices for Leadership Volume 1. So that's how I got connected with Voices for Leadership, is through my facilitator. And then I went on to facilitate a couple of sessions myself online as we were coming out of the pandemic. And so that's kind of how I got started in Change the World.
That is awesome. Now, I need people to understand the power of that chain effect that just happened. You went to a seminar, then you were connected. You were you read a book, you went to a seminar, you were connected to a facilitator because you became a participant who ultimately led you to Voices of Leadership, which Volume 1, now you're in Volume 2, and now we're connected. You're on the podcast. And it was no effort at all, just showing up and really believing in yourself and the vision. How important does that sound to you? And would you believe that that's your message for others as well?
Well, I'll be honest, Nikki, that my time throughout the military, I'd been isolated from a lot of this network because I haven't had much of a social media presence. And there's certain reasons for that. When you're active duty military, it's not usually an encouraged thing. But as I approach retirement here, it's actually more encouraged now because you have to integrate yourself into that civilian world and that commercial world that most people are familiar with. And so as I've done that, I've just found a lot of these connections that you talked about. And I've been able to find so many people that are willing and able to add value. And they don't say, and oh, by the way, you now owe me $1,000 or $10,000. It's usually free. And they're all willing to come to your aid and say, yeah, I've been down this road. I've taken this journey. Let me help you along a little bit. And that's extremely valuable. And I want to be able to do that for others as well.
That is amazing. I totally agree with that. We all start somewhere. But the fact is to make the decision and to make the choice to place yourself in the position to receive that and be able to build that out. So I just love all of that. And I totally get it as far as, being in the service and not being, able to do as much as, the civilians can out here, where we're just in everyone's face, right? But there's a reason. It's really the power that we have if we work together than trying to do it ourselves. So with all that being said, I love all of that. And how did Working Genius come into play?
Yes. So I listen to a number of podcasts as part of my growth plan that I have. And one of those that I listen to is the Table Group, which is Patrick Lencioni's organizational health group. And I was listening to them in 2020, and they started talking about Working Genius. And I was like, I've never heard of this, don't know what it is. But they were starting a podcast that was just focused on Working Genius. And so I started listening to that one as well. So I've listened to episode 1 and every one since then. And throughout the course of that, they offered the opportunity for listeners to become Working Genius facilitators. And so I wasn't in the beta class, but I was in the first cohort of Working Genius facilitators. And I found a lot of value in the model, mostly because it applies to the work environment. And it takes those 6 elements of the Working Genius model and divides them into 3 phases of work: ideation, activation, and implementation. Ideation is really where ideas start. Activation is where those ideas get refined. And implementation is when they actually get put out into the workforce. And so it really gives you a model of how to work, which employees are best suited for those different phases of work. And it can even identify amongst a team that there may be a gap in a certain genius that you need to go fill in some other way. And having awareness of that is pivotal and very powerful in terms of being able to complete that work product. And so I found it really helpful for teams, especially It can be helpful on an individual basis, but it's really powerful when you take an entire team that works together on a daily basis and you figure out what each one's geniuses are, and then you plot them out and see how they can interact in every work product.
That is awesome. So, so do you do those assessments with small groups as well? Is that the one that you said we need 4 to 7 people in a group setting works best?
But the 4 to 7 was actually for Change Your World in terms of like how many people and synergy you can really gain from hearing other people's ideas. For Working Genius, you can do a group of 3 to a group of 20 or 40 or 100. The key is that they're people that work together on a regular basis and that they have to interact on a regular basis to be able to complete projects or work in the office. And so it works best for that. And it can be really any size. Each person takes the assessment and then we can put them on a team map and we can talk through the model itself, and people find a lot of value from it. And a lot of light bulbs come on in a team while we're doing that.
That's absolutely what we all want when we are growing our team and making sure that we're all hitting the benchmarks that we set for ourselves and for our corporations and for our businesses, is that we're all on the same page and everyone is actually going to blossom exactly where they start. But that doesn't mean that there's no room for additional growth. It's just where you're at that point. So I love that. I would love to again see how we can connect, bring it to an event or something like that in the near future. So we're gonna have to stay connected for sure, because I think that's definitely needed. So what do you have going on, Ryan? I know that you're still in the service. How much time are we looking at? And what are your goals and dreams and hopes after leaving the service? Are you working on anything before you get out, putting anything in place?
Yes, Nikki. So the actual retirement date is still a little bit in question. Even though I have a little more flexibility with the Navy than I've had before, they still get to control some things and they still have to approve the date when you retire. So right now I'm looking at mid to late 2024. So late next year, I'll be officially retired from the Navy. It's possible it could go 2 more years after that to 2026, at which point I'd be at mandatory retirement. So it's either going to be 2024 or 2026 at this point. After that, I really want to start a leadership consulting business and do these kinds of things that we've talked about today, which I'm only doing, very part-time right now. Do those full-time, either virtually or within the St. Louis area. And at the same time, I also want to kind of continue doing some writing. That's starting with Voices for Leadership, Volume 2, but hopefully is continuing into other things in the future. And so we'll see how all that works out, but that's what I've got planned for the future, as well as my third passion, which is climbing mountains. And so I like to go around this country and climb mountains that are over 14,000 feet. So that's my passion that I do in the summer, not in the winter, that I do in the summer when the weather's nice. And so I want to do some leadership consulting and go climb lots of mountains.
That is wonderful. Well, I am so happy and so honored again that you were able to come on the podcast and just share. But I definitely do not want to discredit your number one passion, which is family, because that's my number one passion. And that's why I do everything that I do. So to lead in the daytime and then to go home to another village of your people, of your family, that you have to really make sure that you are at 100% and you're giving all and you're being a leader in that, as a dad, as a husband and all that stuff. So I definitely want to give you kudos. I have one son and that is it. I got you not to continue, but 9 children. I send my blessings and everything to you and your family, and just make sure that you incorporate them in your leadership process and really give them that space to be leaders in their lives, which I'm sure you guys are doing already. So I just wanted to tell you kudos about that. And, I send them hellos and just blessings. And what would you like to, how can people get a hold of you?
Yes, ma'am. So if you're interested in anything that I've talked about today, or you want more details, I do have a Gmail address that's for the leadership development piece, and that is Crux Leaders. That's CRUX Leaders at gmail.com, and you can reach out to me there. Crux is a climbing term that has to do with the most difficult part of a climb. So that's where we need leadership the most. And so I think those two terms go together. And when I'm writing, I talk about climbing a lot. And so I think they go together well. So that's where people can get a hold of me. And I'll do my best to answer those emails as rapidly as possible. But it's not my day job. So if there's a little bit of delay, my apologies. But I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can.
That is awesome. And Ryan, I do have 2 connections for you as well. So I'll definitely send you that via email with their contact information, which I think will be a great resource when you are ready and available and just have some conversation in your growth. And I definitely want to stay connected with you as well. And I definitely want to invite you to some of my circles to see how we can work together and again, just build more leaders, which we need that for our generation that comes behind us, because really that's what it's all about for me. So I just want to thank you so much. And you have been amazing. I can't wait to, again, just share this project with you that we're working on with Brian, and then whatever we can share in the future. Do you want to leave our audience with your final words? Like, what do you want to say about leadership and mindset and really just going for your goals?
Yeah, I'll just say my command philosophy here at the unit that I'm at right now is IGNITE, and that stands for integrity, growth, neighborhood, integral, think critically, and ethic of work. And that's what I try to align everybody to. And so if any of those resonate with you, then certainly reach out and get a hold of me. And it's been a pleasure being a part of the podcast today, Nikki.
Awesome. I do want to comment on IGNITE. First of all, I love that word because we need some sparks. But the one that really stands out, and not only because it's the beginning of my name, but because of neighborhood, which is community, which is those around you, which those that are close to you that you may think may not need your service or can use your help or can actually service you in a way. And I think that's so powerful that that's even in that acronym. So thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. And I can't wait till it's released and, we share your vision. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Building a Leadership Mindset podcast. And as I always say, have a great day and make it count.